Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl. Every single day, we navigate a maze of choices, some seemingly insignificant, others life-altering. Should I share my opinion in class today? Should I answer that message now or later? What should my next step be in life? These questions are the building blocks of who we are and the lives we create. But how often do we truly pause to reflect before making a decision? How often do we use that vital space between what happens to us and how we react? Today, I invite you on a journey to explore that powerful space, to learn how to master the art of responding instead of merely reacting. By the end of this video, you will discover 20 transformative techniques to help you pause, reflect, and make wiser choices. No matter what challenges life throws your way, if you've ever regretted a split-second decision or found yourself wondering why things didn't turn out the way you hoped, this video is for you. I'm not just talking about those major, life-changing crossroads. This is about the everyday moments that, over time, shape the essence of who we are. Think back to the last time you had an argument with someone you care about. Maybe in the heat of the moment, you said something hurtful, something you wish you could take back. What if, in that brief but critical moment, you had paused instead? What if you had taken just one breath to gather your thoughts, to choose your words carefully, to respond from a place of understanding rather than anger? Imagine how different that interaction might have been. In this video, we won't just talk about techniques. We will breathe life into them with real stories, powerful examples, and insights from the ancient wisdom of the Stoics to the practical teachings of modern thought leaders. This is your chance to reclaim your power, to transform your choices, and to find growth and freedom in even the most challenging moments of your life. Chapter 1. Embracing the art of pausing. The first step in making better decisions is surprisingly simple. Pause. Learning to pause is like discovering a hidden superpower in a world that always pushes us to act instantly. Method 1. The 5-second rule. Let's start with the 5-second rule. The idea is simple. When you feel the urge to act impulsively, count down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This simple act of counting allows your mind to catch up with your emotions. For example, imagine you're about to send a response to a message that made you angry. By taking 5 seconds, you'll often realize your initial reaction isn't the best one. This technique reminds me of a personal story. One evening, I received an email from a colleague that felt dismissive. My immediate reaction was to reply with equal intensity, but I paused. I counted down, took a deep breath, and decided to sleep on it. The next morning, I realized I could address the issue calmly and productively. This simple pause made all the difference. As Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Another example comes from a friend who struggled with overeating. She found that counting down from 5 before reaching for a snack allowed her to think about whether she was really hungry or just bored. Over time, this practice helped her build a healthier relationship with food. Method 2. The 24-hour rule. For larger decisions, there's the 24-hour rule. If you're deciding on something major, like making a big purchase, moving cities, or quitting a job, give yourself a full day before making the decision. By waiting, you allow your emotions to settle, and you can think more clearly. I once faced a decision about whether to take on a significant freelance project. It was exciting but also overwhelming. By waiting 24 hours, I realized the workload would have compromised my health and time with family. Waiting gave me the clarity to say no. A friend of mine used the 24-hour rule when deciding whether to buy an expensive new gadget. Initially, he was eager to make the purchase, but after waiting a day, he realized it wasn't a necessity and decided to save the money for something more meaningful. The simple delay saved him from buyer's remorse. Chapter 2. Expanding your perspective. Sometimes the key to a wise decision is changing your perspective. What seems overwhelming can become manageable when seen from a different angle. Method 3. The view from above. This method, inspired by Stoic philosophy, encourages you to zoom out, to imagine looking at your life from above, like a bird soaring high. From that height, the things that seem huge and stressful shrink in importance. I once struggled with anxiety over a presentation. By imagining how this one presentation would look in the bigger picture of my life, I realized that, in the grand scheme, it was just one moment. It wasn't worth losing sleep over. Time heals what reason cannot, Seneca said. By stepping back, we often find clarity. I remember a time when my younger sister was stressed about her college entrance exams. She felt like her entire future depended on those results. I encouraged her to try the view from above technique. When she imagined her life 5 years down the line, she realized that while the exams were important, they were just one part of her journey. This perspective shift helped her calm down and approach her studies more effectively. Method 4. Role reversal. Another powerful perspective shifting tool is role reversal, seeing the situation through someone else's eyes. For instance, think about what advice you'd give a friend facing the same problem. This is a technique I use often, especially when I'm feeling unsure. A friend once asked me if she should confront her boss about an issue. She was scared and worried about the consequences. I asked her what she would tell me if our roles were reversed. She smiled and said, "I'd tell you to be brave and speak your mind." And that's exactly what she did, with positive results. I also remember a time when I was uncertain about whether to take on a leadership role in a community project. I asked myself what advice I would give a friend in the same situation. I realized I would encourage them to step up and take on the challenge. This role reversal gave me the courage to accept the position, and it ended up being one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Chapter 3. Mastering Emotional Control. Emotions are powerful. They can lead us to make choices we later regret. Learning to manage them is key to making better decisions. Method 5. Name the emotion. One of the simplest ways to manage your emotions is to name them. When you're upset, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Naming your emotions diminishes their power over you. Once, after a heated disagreement with a family member, I found myself fuming with anger. Instead of letting that anger control me, I said aloud, "I'm angry." Simply naming it helped me step back and calm down. It's as Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. A close friend of mine used this technique when dealing with anxiety about a job interview. She named her emotions, nervousness and fear, which allowed her to acknowledge them without letting them take over. By doing this, she was able to prepare effectively and approach the interview with a clearer mind. Method 6. The Stoic Pause. Another helpful technique is the Stoic pause. Before responding to a situation, take a deep breath. This brief moment allows your rational mind to catch up. I used this recently when someone cut me off in traffic. My instinct was to react angrily, but instead I paused, took a deep breath, and let it go. The situation didn't deserve my energy. One of my coworkers once shared a story about using the Stoic pause during a heated meeting. Instead of reacting defensively to criticism, she took a moment to breathe and then responded thoughtfully. This pause not only helped her maintain her composure, but also led to a more productive discussion. Chapter 4. Thinking with Logic. Balancing emotions with rational analysis is crucial for making informed decisions. Method 7. The Pros and Cons List. This classic method is powerful for a reason. Writing down the pros and cons helps visualize your choices clearly. I often use this technique for career decisions. When considering a new job opportunity, I write down everything: the potential growth, salary, work-life balance. Seeing it all laid out helps me make an informed decision. A former classmate of mine used the pros and cons list when deciding whether to move abroad for work. She listed everything: pros like new experiences and career growth, and cons like being far from family. This exercise helped her see that the pros outweighed the cons, and she made the move. Today, she credits that decision as one of the best in her life. Method 8. Worst-case scenario. Another powerful technique is considering the worst-case scenario. Imagine the worst possible outcome and how you would handle it. This approach reduces fear. When I was considering moving to a new city, I thought about the worst case. What if I didn't like it there? I realized that I could always move back. This made the decision less daunting and allowed me to take the leap. A friend once used this technique when deciding whether to start her own business. She imagined the worst-case scenario, the business failing. She realized that even if it failed, she would still gain valuable experience and could return to her previous career. This helped her overcome her fear and take the leap into entrepreneurship. Chapter 5. Staying true to your core values. Wise decisions are those that align with our core values. Knowing what truly matters to you makes decision-making easier. Method 9. Integrity check. Before making a decision, ask yourself if it aligns with your core values. I once faced a decision about whether to accept a job that paid well but didn't align with my belief in work-life balance. By doing an integrity check, I realized it wasn't the right fit for me, and I walked away without regret. I know someone who had to decide whether to take a lucrative contract that involved work she found ethically questionable. She performed an integrity check and realized that taking the job would go against her values. She declined the offer, and though it was financially challenging at first, she felt at peace with her decision. Method 10. The Would I Respect Myself? This test is simple yet effective. Before acting, consider if you would respect yourself after making that decision. Would you be proud if it became public knowledge? When faced with a morally ambiguous opportunity, I used this test, and it helped me make a choice I could live with. A colleague of mine once faced a decision involving a shortcut that could have given her an advantage at work, but might have compromised her integrity. She asked herself if she would respect herself afterward, and the answer was no. She chose the harder but more ethical path, and in the long run, it earned her respect from her peers and superiors. Chapter 6. The Power of Seeking Guidance. Sometimes the wisest decisions come from seeking advice from others, whether mentors, friends, or loved ones. Method 11. Mentors' advice. Mentors are invaluable because they've often faced similar situations. When I was deciding whether to pursue a new career direction, my mentor helped me weigh the pros and cons and offered insights from her own experiences. A friend of mine sought advice from her mentor when she was considering a significant career change. Her mentor shared stories of his own career transitions and helped her see the potential benefits and challenges. This perspective gave her the confidence to make the change, and she's been thriving ever since. Method 12. Two heads are better than one another. Useful approaches: discussing your decision with trusted friends. Multiple perspectives often reveal blind spots. When I was deciding to start a new project, a friend pointed out a potential challenge I hadn't considered. That feedback helped me plan better and avoid pitfalls. I remember when I was deciding whether to invest in a startup, I discussed it with two close friends who had experience in entrepreneurship. They pointed out some risks I hadn't fully considered, which helped me make a more informed decision. Their input was invaluable in shaping my final choice. Chapter 7. Learning from your past choices. Looking back on past decisions can teach us valuable lessons. Method 13. Post-mortem analysis. After making a decision, review it. What went well? What didn't? This helps improve future decision-making. I once organized an event that had a few hiccups. Reflecting afterward helped me see where I went wrong and what I could do better next time. I know a project manager who regularly uses post-mortem analysis after completing projects. She gathers her team to discuss what worked, what didn't, and what they could improve for next time. This practice has helped her team grow and become more efficient over time. Method 14. Future self-reflection. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. How will you feel about the decision you're making today? This exercise has helped me stay aligned with my long-term goals, reminding me to think beyond the present moment. A college friend used future self-reflection when deciding whether to study abroad. She imagined her future self looking back on the decision. She realized she would regret not taking the opportunity, so she went for it. Years later, she looks back at that experience as one of the most enriching times of her life. Chapter 8. Overcoming cognitive biases. We're all prone to biases, and recognizing them helps us make more objective choices. Method 15. Identifying confirmation bias. Confirmation bias leads us to favor information that supports our beliefs. To avoid it, actively seek opposing viewpoints. I once considered buying a car and only looked at positive reviews. By intentionally seeking negative ones, I gained a more balanced understanding. I had a friend who was determined to invest in a particular stock. He only read articles that supported his decision. I encouraged him to look for opposing views, and when he did, he realized there were significant risks he hadn't considered. This saved him from making a potentially costly mistake. Method 16. The pre-mortem technique. Imagine your decision has failed and identify why. This helps foresee potential problems. Before starting a big project, I use this technique to brainstorm all possible issues. This proactive approach made the project smoother. A startup founder I know used the pre-mortem technique before launching a new product. He gathered his team and asked them to imagine that the product had failed. They identified several potential reasons, which allowed them to address those issues before launch. The product ended up being a success, in part because of this careful planning. Chapter 9. Navigating life's uncertainties. Uncertainty is a part of life. Learning to embrace it rather than fear it can lead to more confident decisions. Method 17. The what-if game. Explore different outcomes by asking, what if? What if it works out? What if it doesn't? When I considered starting a new business, this game helped me see the possible upsides and downsides, allowing me to prepare accordingly. I once knew someone who was hesitant about moving to a new country for work. She played the what-if game, considering both the best and worst outcomes. This exercise helped her realize that even if things didn't go perfectly, she would still gain valuable experiences. She made the move, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions she ever made. Method 18. Best, worst, most likely. Analysis. Consider the best, worst, and most likely outcomes. This approach helped me when deciding to switch careers. Knowing both the potential success and risks made me feel more confident in my choice. A friend used this analysis when deciding whether to invest in a rental property. She considered the best-case scenario, steady rental income, the worst-case scenario, difficulty finding tenants, and the most likely outcome. This helped her make an informed decision, and she ultimately chose to invest, which has since provided her with financial stability. Conclusion. Mastering the art of wise decisions. Mastering the art of decision-making takes practice, introspection, and learning from both successes and mistakes. We've explored a variety of methods, from pausing and managing emotions to aligning choices with values, seeking counsel, and embracing uncertainty. Each of these techniques helps us create a life filled with intentional, meaningful choices. Take a moment to reflect on your recent decisions. Could any of these techniques help you? Start small, pause before reacting, seek advice from a mentor, or imagine your future self. Decision-making is a journey, not a destination. Keep learning, stay open, and remember that every choice you make is a building block towards the life you aspire to create. I want to leave you with one final story. A friend once told me about a difficult decision she faced, whether to end a long-term relationship. She used many of the techniques we discussed. She paused, reflected on her core values, sought advice, and imagined her future self. In the end, she made the tough choice to end it. And though it was painful, she grew stronger and found a new path that aligned better with who she wanted to be. This is the power of wise decision-making. It allows us to live authentically and move forward with confidence. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit from these insights. Let me know in the comments how these techniques have worked for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts.